and welcome to Language Arts for today. Before we get started, you will need a few things. You are going to need your white binder. You are going to need your Language Arts materials packet. Remember, that's this. You are going to need your copy of Gilgamesh, and you will need a pencil. If you need to go get any of those things, please pause and do so now, and then come on back. So fifth graders, our objective for today is going to be an objective that we're going to have periodically throughout the book. So we're going to be considering this question of, is Gilgamesh heroic? Is Gilgamesh heroic? So in order to do today's lesson, inside your materials package, you're going to need to find two pieces of paper. First is this one that says literary theme, heroism. So this is a theme we're going to be discussing as we go through the text. Okay, so you'll need to get this out. Sometimes you guys have been saying, oh, I can't find that sheet, and because it's a half sheet, it might get lost in your packet, but it's in there. I promise you it's in there. You're also going to need to get out this sheet here that says, is Gilgamesh heroic? So go ahead and get those two things out, as well as, again, pencil and making sure you have your copy of the book, and then we're going to get into it together. So fifth graders, the first thing that we're going to do is take some notes. We're having this discussion, this consideration of, is Gilgamesh heroic? And so in order to have this consideration, we need to agree on a definition of heroism. And so we're going to take some notes today, and this is the definition that we are going to use as we discuss heroism as a class. Now, someone else might have a different definition, or there might be things that you personally think make a hero. And that's not really what we're considering at this point. We're considering these particular heroic characteristics. And a lot of this is based on the ancients and what they thought of this. So, as always, if I have it, you should have it, and we'll be working together. A theme, which remember, this is like a main idea of a story or a unifying message. A theme that is explored often in great literature is heroism. In other words, authors often ask, what makes a hero? Remember, always, if you need to pause as we're going, you may do so. So what is it that makes a hero? These are some of the characteristics that we are going to consider as we read through our story, Gilgamesh the Hero. So, heroes are often born of royalty or gods. In other words, when we say royalty, what that means is that heroes often have kings and queens or even gods as parents. Royalty is another way of saying kings, queens, princes, and princesses. In addition, heroes often perform extraordinary feats. And when we look at this word extraordinary, you might have heard people pronounce it extraordinary, which is a way of saying this is something beyond what ordinary people do. These feats are above and beyond. They're extraordinary. They're incredible, okay? So heroes are often capable of doing deeds that seem almost superhuman. Things that are more than what a typical human would be able to do. Desiring to prove worthiness. Heroes often want to show people how exceptional or excellent that they are, okay? That they really are above and beyond, that they're greater than what you would typically think of a person. Overcoming challenges, is what I want you to write. Overcoming challenges in life. Heroes often have obstacles or difficult circumstances in their lives that they must overcome in order to achieve greatness. And I don't mean like tricky things that just kind of like, oh, my toast got burned today, right? These are things that are larger things that are difficult to overcome, okay? Like maybe they are orphans, for instance, or maybe they've been fighting a big illness, for instance, right? These are kind of big things that are difficult for them to overcome. And finally, displaying virtue. Our virtues of fortitude and prudence and temperance and justice. True heroes should use their virtues in difficult situations. So, fifth graders, this is the definition of heroism that we're going to use as we read through Gilgamesh. So you want to make sure that you're aware of these heroic characteristics. I'm going to ask you at this point to go ahead and pause and put these notes into the reading section of your white binder. And once you've put them there, you can come on back and unpause. So fifth graders, we have talked about the definition of heroism. Remember that this is our objective. We're going to consider if Gilgamesh himself is heroic. This is something we're going to start today, and then I'll keep telling you when to do it. So this is not something I'm asking you to do without instructions from me, okay? So we're going to use this sheet that I provided for you to do so. So I would like everyone first to put your name on your sheet. And then I want you to write yourself a note here that says include page numbers. And use quotes. Okay, so not just pieces of evidence, but we're looking for a quote. So what we're going to do is we go through, we're looking at this column here, textual evidence for or against from chapters 1 through 4. So to start, we're just looking at the first 4 chapters in order to find textual evidence. So what's going to happen? In each of these categories, we're going to go through and consider, does Gilgamesh display this heroic characteristic or not? And as we consider, does he display it or not, you're going to want to write a plus if our quote says, yeah, he does display it, or a minus if our quote says, no, he does not display that characteristic, okay, that heroic characteristic. So let's model a few of these, and then I'll have you do a few of them for homework. Our first heroic characteristic that we should be looking at says that a hero is born of royalty or gods. So the question I have is Gilgamesh born of royalty or gods? And you should be able to say, yeah, he is. Okay, we know that he is a king, therefore he is born of royalty or gods. So now we need to support this with a quote, our textual evidence, a quote from the text. And remember, of course, that we're including page numbers using quotes, okay? So flipping through your text, I am going to direct us to page 7, which doesn't have a page number on the bottom, but it looks like this, okay? We're looking for a quote on this page that shows us that he is born of royalty. There's a couple of examples. Really, anytime we see King Gilgamesh would work. So I'm going to select this quote. King Gilgamesh has more wisdom than most. So we're writing a quote that shows, yeah, he is born of royalty. And remember, we want to include our page number, which is a little trickier for this because we have to look around. But if you count around and come back, you'll see it's page 7. Excuse me. Remember, 5th graders, if I have it, you have it. So you want to include this piece of information as well. There's a lot of places that you could have selected about King Gilgamesh in order to show that he is born of royalty or gods. Next, we want to consider, does Gilgamesh perform extraordinary feats? Does he do things that seem almost superhuman? What are you guys thinking about that? Of all the things that Gilgamesh has done, does he seem to do things that are superhuman? I'm thinking, yeah, he really does. He does have some faults, but he certainly does seem to do things that are superhuman. I think there are examples in chapter 3, chapter 4, probably chapter 2. Okay. I am going to direct us to page 40. Okay, page 40. Looking for a piece of textual evidence that shows that Gilgamesh has done something superhuman. These italicized parts seem to give us great evidence. So I'm going to take who killed the bull of heaven. On page 40. This is a quote showing that Gilgamesh did something superhuman, right? Or extraordinary, killing the bull of heaven. I think a quote that shows us that he killed Huwawa would certainly be an extraordinary feat. So we see these places in which, yeah, he is doing extraordinary feats, things that are almost superhuman. Okay. Now we have this question of desiring to prove worthiness, wanting to show that he is great, extraordinary, that he deserves people's respect, that he deserves people to think highly of him. So does it seem that Gilgamesh is trying to show his worthiness to prove that he is great and excellent? I would say that yes, he does. I'm thinking of conversations that he has with Enkidu. These conversations, they talk about how he wants to live his life. Page 22 seems to have some great quotes. At this point, I'm going to ask you to pause and go look at page 22 and see if you can come up with a quote that would show that Gilgamesh is desiring to prove his worthiness. So 5th graders, as you found your quotes, I think there's a lot of great ones. Maybe you wrote, our names will be written in clouds of glory on the noonday sky. Maybe you said, fame is everything, Enkidu, isn't it? Or why live if not to make a mark on the world? To blaze a trail through it, to do deeds worthy of remembrance. All of those are excellent quotes to show that Gilgamesh is really trying to prove his worthiness. I'm going to write, why live if not to make a mark on the world? Actually, I should have had page 22 and our question mark. Again, I think there are a lot of great quotes, so maybe you picked something a little bit different than this one, and that's just fine. Okay. Overcomes challenges in life. Remember, we're kind of looking at people who have big hurdles, big difficulties that they're trying to overcome in their lives. So consider, does it seem like Gilgamesh has big challenges in his life? Big things to overcome? I think my instinct at this point is to say, no, it kind of seems like Gilgamesh has a lot going for him, right? His description is that he's very strong and muscular and attractive, and he has a lot of power, right? And all these things seem to show that there don't seem to be a ton of challenges, right? He almost seems kind of footloose and fancy free at this point. So I'm going to go with a quote from page 9. Tossing out orders like lava bombs. Ooh. From a volcano. And I picked this quote because it really shows the amount of power that Gilgamesh has. That he can just shout out his commands and people will do what he says. And this seems to show that there aren't tons and tons of challenges at this point in his life. All right, so fifth graders. We've gone through half of this first column together. We've decided that, well, I've decided for us, I guess is more accurate. He seems to be born of royalty or gods. He's performed extraordinary feats. He desires to prove his worthiness. And he's he's overcoming, maybe hasn't overcome challenges in life. So for homework, I want you to put a quote in these remaining boxes, okay? So you could put a star here to show you need to do these 4. So you need to come up with 4 more quotes yourselves from chapters 1 through 4. Okay, reminder, it's chapters 1 through 4. Remember that in each case, you need to have either yes, he displayed fortitude, or no, he did not. Yes, he displayed prudence, or no, he did not. Yes, he displayed temperance, or no, he did not. Yes, he displayed justice, or no, he did not. Okay, so remember, you're going to have a plus or a minus to show. You're going to have a quote, and you're going to have a page number. So if you need to write somehow some reminders to yourself that you're going to include these things, do so now. Again, it should be a direct quote from the text. You need to have a plus or a minus and a page number. So again, it might be just a wise choice to add some reminders right here to you now. Okay? Okay. So fifth graders, when you are done, I want you to show me a picture of both sides of your column 1. I want to see the first side, and I want to see the second side. I want to see both sides because I want to make sure that you're following along with me, working along with me, that you're not just doing the ones that are starred, but I want to see that you're doing all of this work. This is all going to be helpful as we move forward and as we're having our discussions moving forward. I'm also going to post a second video. That second video is just going to be talking to you about virtues. If you're new to Nova or are feeling a little rusty on your virtues, you might not be remembering when I talk about fortitude, prudence, temperance, and justice. You might be a little bit like, but what does that mean? Okay. So I'm going to do a second video to give you a little watch through to help you figure out if you feel like that your Gilgamesh is showing those virtues. Okay. But this part is your homework. And again, I want to see a picture of both sides. This seems like a great time to remind you your ABCs, that your work should be all in the picture. It should be bright enough. It should be close enough that I can see, and really as close as you can get while still having all the work in the picture. And you want to hold that picture or your work still enough when you're taking your picture. Okay. Good luck, fifth graders. Let me know if you need any help.